Hello, everyone. Welcome to our new Learn Live session. My name is Cynthia Zanoni, and I'm a cloud advocate here at Microsoft. And today we have our last session on the Get Certified with GitHub. So, yes, we are sad to say this is our last meeting here with all of you. And we are so happy to have people from many countries across the globe, from Brazil, India, United States, and many others. So today we are going to have Chris Nori and Bruno presenting about GitHub and how we can manage projects on the platform. And if you want, you can check all the videos from the previous sessions on demand here on the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel. So don't forget to give us a like in the session and also subscribe to our YouTube channel to get discounted and many others free content we are offering in English, Spanish, Portuguese, and other languages here to the whole Microsoft technical community. Also, if you want to keep learning and especially to connect this opportunity from the series with the GitHub Foundation certification, we have a very special learning path available on Microsoft Tech Community blog with all the steps and the tips and tricks to learn more about GitHub at general, GitHub Copilot, GitHub Code Space, and other techniques and things across the GitHub platform. And as you may know, at the end of the session, we are going to share about the vouchers because we have a very great partnership with the GitHub team, and we have this possibility to offer for you some vouchers to help you, to get the GitHub Foundation certification. So, and now let me move here to say hi and welcome to Bruno and Chris, who will be leading this session with us today. Hello, Bruno. Hello, Chris. How are you guys?
Hi there,
Hello,
Cynthia.
everyone.
It's really great to be here. We're super excited to meet with you all. So yeah, I know it's the last part of the series, but hopefully we'll make it a good one.
Yes, thank you so much. So I will be here in the backstage to help and to see you at the end to have, this special moment with the vouchers. But now I want to say, let's focus here to learn with Chris and Bruno, and let's chat about the certification at the end. So have a great session, guys.
All right. Thanks so much, Cynthia. Okay, let me just share my screen here. Hopefully you all can see the screen. My name is Chris Noring. You already saw Bruno Capuano on screen, my fantastic colleague. We're here today to talk about Git and GitHub and to how to manage your repositories on Git. So we kind of hope that you, after this session, will feel very empowered. So first off, I want you all to give a hello, a shout out to Fernando, our moderator for this session. Fernando is a Learn Student Ambassador. That's something that you can be as well. It's a fantastic way to interact with all of us at Microsoft while building your resume and being a student. So definitely say hi to Fernando. Check out our Learn Student Ambassador program as well. Here's us. I'm a senior cloud advocate at Microsoft. Bruno, do you want to say a couple of words about yourself?
Yes, first of all, hey, love the first slide. It's been a while since I used a suit, very formal project manager. This is not about what we are going to talk today. We are going to talk about one of the tools that we probably spend a lot of time in Microsoft GitHub because we do a lot of stuff there. Amazing collaboration platform, amazing, a lot of things. We are going to see this. And yes, Bruno here from Canada. Notice the accent, not Canadian, born and raised in Argentina, live in Europe, now in Canada. Go Argentina, go Spain, go Italy, Euro Cup. There is soccer all around the globe. But yeah, super happy here because the idea today is to share with you the modules, but also to show you how we use the tools, what we learn. And we learn different things. When I was talking with Chris, how we use this, we have different experience here. So I really, really expect that you get value from this. And if you want to say something, I see people from Pakistan, Brazil, someone from the US also there. Share with us some comments. Really, really happy to see how we can help. So, hey, back to you, Chris.
Thank you so much, Bruno. And I should say I'm also phoning in here from London, UK, but I'm Swedish, so no one is where they're supposed to be, and that's all good. So definitely give us a shout out. Tell us where you're from in the world. We'll definitely want to hear what a global and fantastic community that we are. So today, this is our table of content. We have two different portions of this session today. The first portion, we'll talk about your repository, because that's really where you're going to start off today, right? You want to build something or you want to write something, and you want to use GitHub to store all that content in. So we're going to talk about how you can manage all those changes in a good way, while also adding collaborators, because collaboration is fun, right? We just don't want to make this into a single sport when it comes to programming. We want to work with other people, lovely people like you. And the second half of the session is about searching and organizing your repository history, because you start working on it, right? And you add all this code, all these changes, and somehow you forgot, what you did or what you said 3 to 6 months ago, and you need to check out, was it me or was it Bruno, or who did that change? Or, there are some great tips that we want to share with you how to get organized. Now, we are kind of loosely basing this off of 2 different Learn modules. This is the first one. This is called How to Manage Your Repository Changes by Using Pull Requests. Pull requests are fantastic. We'll talk more about those, and Bruno will definitely show some pull requests live, how you can be creating those. But this module is something we want you to check out. So check out the bottom right link here where it says Learn Live GitHub. This is for you to go in after this program, so don't go in quite yet. Stay with us, stay focused, but there are some great content within this module. Right, so let's try to set some kind of narrative, some kind of story. Why am I using Git? Why am I using GitHub? And I think with this story, hopefully it's going to resonate with a lot of people, because most of us have started with GitHub at some point, right? We create some kind of repository, we're trying to build a game or maybe a web app, or we're doing something fun and we're using GitHub, we're using code. And you start out maybe by yourself because you have this fantastic idea, right? You have a fantastic idea, you want to add code to it, and everything is going fantastic in the beginning because it's just you're using Git, you're using GitHub, you're adding features, and your project is growing up and it has more and more features. Now, you might be building something like this, right? You might be building some kind of pizza app showcasing all the pizzas, or you might be building some kind of game. Myself, I have a background within game development, so I usually resort to building a game. But when I see a site like this, I honestly get hungry. It's so many pizzas in here. Speaking of pizzas, Bruno, do you have a favorite pizza?
Not a favorite, but I will say, please do not add pineapple. That's it. That's something that should never happen. Somehow we get there. Let's try to go back to the good times. But that's me. I know that colors and taste, it's open to everyone.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's a reflection probably, Bruno, or where you're from. But I would say this: do what you want, because I've seen some horrible examples in Sweden where people actually put a hamburger and French fries and put that on the pizza and then they bake it. So I've seen the worst kind of abominations that you can do with the pizza. So don't worry. If you want to put fruit on it, you do you.
Okay, so pineapple is probably the first step to a non very good world that I don't want to know more about that. I'm going to have nightmares of what you just shared here.
Don't worry. It's us Swedes. We are a bit particular kind. But back to our narrative, right? You have created this fantastic looking project, right? You have a bunch of features in it, but it's too much, right? Because you might be doing this as some kind of side project. And while it's a side project, you might have an everyday job to attend to as well. So because you're so successful, you get a ton of requests. People want to add features. They're pointing out that you have bugs. Maybe they want you to update the documentation. And this is you here on the right. You are starting to get tired because you have so many things to manage with your repo. So you're thinking to yourself, what about all these people who say they want features? What if I could actually tell them to go build these features for me? What if I added more people? And you do that. You do exactly that. You point out people who are super active with your repository and say, hey, guys and girls, join me in this project. Maybe you want to be interested in joining. Maybe you want to be core maintainers and you can add features. But here's the kicker. If you don't have a plan on how to do this, you might end up with a lot more code and broken code. And nobody likes broken code, right? Because it might be super hard to find when in history. Was it a week ago or 2 weeks ago? When was the time that this repository and this code latest worked? So you need a system. So if you've never done this before, if you never collaborated with other people, please stay very focused, because now we're about to tell you a system that allows you to move forward. So with that said, branches. If you never heard of branches, let's just mention what those are quickly. So imagine that you're now sitting in this lovely looking tree, right? And you see how developers of all shapes and sizes are sitting on their own branch, and they are coding in isolation. And that's exactly what branches are. They're isolated workspaces that allows you to build features, you can fix bugs, and you can experiment. If you want hot pink as a background to your pizza site, you do you. Add whatever you want. But then there's also this concept, if you haven't used Git before, there's a concept called commits, and those are really saving points in your Git, in your repo's history. So you're able to go, to any saving point in history where you found that, yeah, this is a good candidate of my code that I want to use. So now that you know some core concepts within Git, that's going to help you. What does that mean in terms of GitHub? Because, and for those of you who don't know this, Git is really the versioning system, whereas GitHub is this web platform that allows you to collaborate. Because collaboration is fun, you guys, right? So pull request is about taking your change, and while you take your change, you want to put that in front of someone. I want to put my code in front of Bruno's, and Bruno hopefully wants to show his code to me. And the whole point here is not to be mean towards each other. Try to be nice, to try to collaborate on code, give each other helpful comments, how they can improve the code, or just ask questions if you don't understand what people are doing. But the whole point is you use GitHub and you use pull request as a way to start a conversation. So here in this case, on the right side here, you see that I've taken this README file and I've added a space to it. That's not a big change, but that's still something that I can create a pull request from. I can show this to Bruno and he's like, Chris, did you fall asleep on the keyboard again? So, and I just wanted to show you really quickly what goes on, right? You might have started in a situation where you create this main branch, and then you create, you start on the main branch, right? Or master, whatever you call it. Please call it main, because that's more inclusive. And then you create a branch from that. And then you have this green piece here, where this is your new code. But this is something I want to send to Bruno and say, hey, Bruno, I added this feature, or I changed the background color to, whatever color. And I want to show this to him so that he can have an opinion. There's also something that to be said about how hard this is to set up to get pull requests to work, depending on whether you have full access to the repo or no access. In the best case, me and Bruno both are owning the same repo, and we can just push branches on that repo as much as we want. But if you are looking into open source, you might not have access to push those branches directly to the repo. So what you need to do is first to fork the repo, clone that fork, and then start pushing branches to that clone. And then you could be creating the PR, which will then end up on the source repo. So depending on how you're joining us today, with your own repo, you're adding a collaborator, or you want to do open source, there's a bit different setup. But I have a feeling that, Bruno, aren't you cooking up some kind of pull request here in the background, right?
Yes, while you were talking and sharing your repo, I basically went to your repo here. This is the one that the repo that Chris shared. And I basically fork it. I went here to fork and started to fork. You can see here that it's a basically two-step process, or 3 steps, depending on how complicated you want to do. But this is the current one, and I have it here in my repo right now. I know that you already seen the basic concepts of Git and GitHub, like how you can clone the repo and do more. Everything that we are going to show today is part of this module. So, and the modules are part of the link. So take a look at this one, the specific one for today, which is basically how we can do changes, how we can do fork, pull request, and more. And this is the topic that we have here. What are pull requests and what do we have? So going back here, I have now Chris repo in my account, and I basically went here and I cloned the repo. So this repository is an amazing pizza application. By the way, I see some of the comments of what you are sharing about what you do with pineapples and more. Nightmares for me. This is literally nightmares. But going back to the code, what we have here is a nice .NET application with a solution. So the first thing that I did is I open the solution with Visual Studio and I realize that, hey, this project is not using .NET 8, which is the latest version of .NET. So I pick up one of the projects, I change the version to .NET 8, and when I save, I basically have here, okay, I modify one of the files. This is locally here, and I'm going to do here to do some comment here, update to .NET 8. So I am going to commit this, and I can do a couple of things here. Again, not the time to explain everything here. Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code give you the chance, if you don't want to do Git in command lines, they have a nice UI, a set of buttons here that can help you. So I'm going to go here directly. So you know what? Commit my changes here and sync with the repo. So let's do this. When I do this, what I am going to see is in my repo right now, after a couple of seconds, it's doing the push of my changes here. Oh, I'm okay. May we go back to Chris's slides for a second? I was, oh no, there's this. I am back here. So here we are. I don't know why I get this optimization here, this authorization here, but what I have here is, okay, I have my changes here. I have my latest changes that I put here. So what I can do here right now is, okay, I have a change. It's in my repo. But remember, the main repo is Chris repo. There is no main, but let's talk about this. So I can start to work with these two buttons here. And take a look at this message here. The branch that I am working right now, the branch that I am working in my repo is, I am ahead of Chris. So I can do a couple of things. I can contribute to the repo, which is a pull request. This is what I'm going to do. Or if I am behind, in example, I can sync. Be careful here. If you start to work and you have changes here and there, you get to this amazing point in time where you need to merge the stuff. And merging is fine. Merging is nice when you know what you are doing and you have small chunks of files here and there. If you wait weeks until you try to put everything together, it's not a fun experience. But going back here, what I am going to do, I'm going to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to open a pull request. And here, basically what Chris mentioned before, we have here a basic information, a pull request. I can do a title, I can do a description, I can do the description using Markdown, so I can add my formats here. Depending on the repo and the rules of the repo, you can have some predefined fields that you want to fill here. Like in example, this is a major change or a minor change. If this repo is associated to documentation, we need to update the documentation. So there is a lot of rules here. Basically, I'm going to keep this very, very simple. Sorry about that. And I am going to create the pull request. This will trigger a couple of things. This will trigger, right now, it will trigger a couple of automatic rules that we have here in this repo. And it's going to say, hey, you know what? I didn't make any big change. I don't have any very big conflict here. So we can go back to Chris and Chris can start to see what I did here. But a couple of interesting things here. At any moment, Chris can open this pull request and start to add kind of a discussion here. Start to say, hey, you know what? I agree with this. I don't agree. You can add comments and more. Do you want to show how you see this in your end, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for that pull request. So hopefully you all see my screen. But what I'm seeing now is what Bruno typed here. I see update to .NET 8. So this is showing up on my side. So even though he created that on his fork, pull requests are showing up in the source repo like this. So here I can just go here and I can see what files were changed if I'm curious about the details. And I see how he changed this number to .NET 8.0. So there are a few things I can do here in the spirit of collaboration. So I can just ask Bruno, it's like, are you sure about this version? Is this the latest version of .NET 8? Now, because Bruno is sitting with me on this call, he can answer me verbally, right? But imagine now that you don't have that luxury, but I'm just leaving this comment. And now I can just sit there. I pasted this comment to Bruno, so we initiate that conversation. So what do you say, Bruno? Is .NET 8.0 the latest, or is there a more updated version?
We have 9 literally baking right now, but 8 is the latest one. I think it's
Great.
nice because in real time, I see these comments. You see here that can you go to the first tab to the perfect to my screen. So hey, in real time, I see that. Imagine that you are working in a distributed team, you are not in the same time zone and work and more. So I see that Chris here review this and say, hey, are you sure about this version? Is the latest version of .NET? I'll say, yes, this is the latest one. And sorry about that. I will say, yes, Net 8 is the latest one. And I can add the comment. But you know what? I forget about a couple of things here. And this is the full idea of the pull request. If I go back to my project, to the solution, sorry, we see here that we have several projects here. And I only upgraded one of the projects to .NET 8. Maybe I want to upgrade more. Maybe I want to upgrade all of the projects here. So let me go here, properties. I'm going to do just one more. Net 8. So let's save this. More changes. Now, sorry for more projects to Net 8. Sorry for the crappy messages here. But I can start to have more and more changes. My changes are now part of my project. So I am going to see here in my code that, hey, you know what? I have here, in my pull request here in .NET 8, I start to have the new file changes here because it's still part of my full commit. So I have here the pizza server, and then I have here the pizza shared. And in the pizza shared, I have the comments that Chris adds here. We can see the UI that, hey, he pick up this file and say, hey, are you sure about this? Yes, and I add another one. So this is a full set of conversational scenario where you can basically start to analyze file by file, even if you want line by line, specific section of the code that, are you sure about this? Are you sure about that? And you have this conversation and you have all of this. And at this moment, I don't know, Chris, what do you think? Do you want to try this? Do you want to show, hey, okay, Bruno changed a little pieces of code, but of course, before moving forward, we should probably try the application. I didn't even try the application. What do you think?
So I think that sounds good. And I think there was some probably assumption on my side that things you try work, but you know how it is, right? We are developers, and it's not always that we have the time to test things. So many times we might have unit tests or other types of tests that actually does all the trying for us. So and I think you mentioned this initially, Bruno, some kind of improvement that we can do when the PR is being created. Now, we're not going that far today, but you can definitely hook up GitHub Actions that's going to run unit tests and different kind of tests that can improve your project further. But today we're just happy to show you the pull request and the communication flow. So yeah, I'd love to see if the .NET 8 is actually going to build and run your app.
Yes, and hey, in order to do this, and by the way, if you get confused about who is showing who, I'm using the light theme. Chris is doing in the dark theme, so this is still Bruno's machine. There are a couple of things that you can do that I really, really like with GitHub as a platform. Besides creating pull requests, besides creating and having the conversation and the changes here, at any moment, if you want to see, okay, I want to see this specific snapshot of code, so I can go here to this pull request and I can check out the code. So I use this GitHub PR checkout too, and I will going to have basically like a clone, but with this code. Or you can even go further and create a code space. Code space is a super amazing tool that we have here in GitHub. I think we have, any GitHub user have around 30 hours of processing time a month. It depends on how many CPUs you use, but think about that you have 30 hours or so a month. And this will create basically a virtual machine with everything that is required in this project, everything that we have in this project, and you can basically test everything there, and you can connect here with Visual Studio Code, and you can create and check this in the cloud, in the browser directly. So this is not just reading code and adding comment. At some moment, you want to test stuff. And as Chris mentioned, we don't have any tests here right now. I'm just upgrading the version of .NET in a project. But of course, if I want to commit something, I should probably trigger something that run unit testing and also a GitHub action doing something else if I want to do more. So there is a lot of things that can happen here. And as we see, I mean, we are still working here, and we are still having the comments, and we're still having this in both of parts. I don't know, Chris, do we want to show how we can approve the PR, or do you want to do some changes on your side so I can show how we can merge changes?
Yeah, so I'm thinking about it, right? Because people out there, when they are creating a lot of different commits, because I think right now you've created another commit on top of the commit, right? So we have two commits and the same pull request.
Yes.
So one thing, if you start contributing to open source, there's a lot of main contributors out there who's going to say, could you please squash all your commits into one commit, because that looks nicer. Because instead of looking at 7 or 8 different commits, because there was a conversation back and forth where I said, Bruno, can you change this to that? And you're responding and say, yeah, Chris, of course. And then you end up with 7 or 8 commits. I think there's an option, right, where you can choose to squash. But I'm thinking I can do that on my end, maybe, unless, of course, you want to show it locally.
No. Let's do this in the collaborational sides, because remember, there are a couple of things happening here. Right now, Chris and I, we are both talking, sharing the camera, looking at the screen. This usually happens when you are not there. What I do every day, I go here. I'm not going to open this. I go here. When I open GitHub, go to my notifications, and oh my God, I'm part of different projects, different repositories, and I have so many notifications, but this is the place I start to see which one are the hot ones or the important ones, and I get here and I start to see what we have. So imagine that Chris and I, we are not talking, and now he's going to try to do everything on his side.
Yeah, fantastic. So if we're looking at my screen right now, we see now that I reloaded it, I see that there are 2 files changed instead of 1. I see that .NET 8 is being added here and here. And so now I understand, oh, okay, Bruno figured out that he needed to add one more project. It seems like his answer, though, is that .NET 8 is the correct value, which means that I might say, well, okay, fair enough. So at this point, I can have more than one conversation going, right? So now Bruno only changed a couple of lines, but it could also easily be several lines where you need to have, different conversations. And once you're happy with the conversation, you can just do resolve, at which point you don't see all that faff anymore. You don't see a bunch of comments everywhere, and it looks a bit more clean. And if I wanted to go back and say, what was this about? I can just see that conversation flow. But if I don't want to see it because I'm happy with whatever Bruno responds with, I just do resolve. So what I can do right now is also, if I'm happy with all the changes within this file or files, I can just go into review changes, and I can either say, hey, Bruno, can you change X to Y? Or can you change, I can comment something else back. So at this point, I hit either request changes if I want Bruno to change something, or I hit approve, at which point I'm saying I'm actually happy with this. So depending on the access of the repo, it's either myself or Bruno or just me that has the capability to merge. Now, if I invited Bruno as a contributor to my repo, which I haven't done, but if I do that in the future, he can hit merge. But at this point in time, I'm the only one who can hit merge. But I think he will see some kind of notification on his side that everything is good. So looking at this, I have a few different options. So I can either create a merge commit, or I can squash and merge, or I can rebase and merge. And rebasing is just a different way of playing up all the different changes. So think about this one as a number of events have happened, and you have those events playing out on top of wherever the branch was. So we're going to select squash and merge because we feel like it's easier to look at one commit. So in this case, if Bruno has done 2 separate commits, I can just have it look like one commit. So if I select squash and merge at this point and actually do it, then I need to confirm it to be sure. So I do confirm squash and merge, and there you go. Now everything is actually in the solution at this point, which is great. So if I were to go to this code, I can go to source, and I believe one of the changes was in shared and probably in the project file. Where is that thing? Let's see, was it the solution file maybe? No, it wasn't.
No, it's in the
PS project.
Yes.
Right. So here we can see how Bruno's change actually made it live into our main branch. So here, that's one way of just following up on the code. But you can see now how there's one less pull request. We used to have 2, and now there's just 1. So you can also have complete control of your repo this way. So one more thing you can also do, by the way, now that we've added Bruno as a collaborator to this project, or rather he forked the repo, I can just make sure that I protect the main branch, because at this point I can freely commit and push to the main branch, and that's not really a good practice when you work on projects, because you want to check even yourself, because at times you will commit things that you shouldn't and you just push it because it's so easy. So if I hit protect this branch, that's a better option. So once I select that, then no one, not even myself, will be able to push directly to main, and all changes in the future will happen with pull requests. So now you know some kind of best practices, how we go from one maintainer on this repo to now adding Bruno. And honestly, this scales infinitely. Like, sure, you might not want 100 people maybe collaborating on your repo, but at least 10 to 20 can create various pull requests. But even if you're talking about the big open source repos, there might actually be developers in the hundreds or thousands. Having said that, Bruno, have you collaborated on a big repo sometime?
Yes, there are a couple of them that we are working different. In example, right now I am working on the 5.3 cookbook. 5.3 is a small language model that we release for free. The cookbook is a place that a lot of people all around the globe add packages, samples, labs, demos, explanation how to use the model. And hey, I was literally working early in the morning with one of our friends, Kinfei from China. And Kinfei and myself have the worst time zone different ever. We are never online at the same time. So we collaborate here a lot. I go to the repo, see if my changes were approved or not. What did I miss? What else I need to do? And it's super, super important. And we do that a lot. And same with other repos that we have all around the globe. And by the way, and this is kind of important, there are a couple of questions here. I can't remember the name. Sorry, I didn't have here. I think it's Arnaud who said that it's created a test repo and start to play around with pull request, with GitHub Actions and more. It's a good way to start. And I will say yes. If you plan to collaborate in an open source project, in example, if you plan to work or more, this is one of the key pieces. You don't need to know everything, because I still find something that I really don't know what to do. So I pick up the phone, I call, hey, Chris, I need to do A, B, or C. And Chris help me, or someone else help me. But understanding the basic concepts of how the pull request works, branches works, how you can discard everything, the old branches, or these kind of things, it's super important for collaboration. So I will strongly advise, and thanks Arnaud and the other people who are commenting here, to basically start to play around. Go to the lessons, go to the learn units that we have, play around there, take a look here and there, get the certification. I saw tons of questions around certification there. Thanks for the moderator to help with those answers. But this is one of the key pieces working on GitHub: understanding branches, understanding pull requests, and more. How about you, Chris? Do you have any big experience to share here?
Yeah. So I was actually collaborating on the Angular repo, and I think there's almost, I can't remember now, but at least 50,000 stars and hundreds of different contributors. And there was the case where I needed to follow those rules about squashing my commits, for example, because that's how they wanted it. And, some of these open source repos has a lot of ceremony to it, but it's not to make your life harder, but more ensuring that the code that you end up with is better, and that there's a great and nice communication rule. One thing I should also say is very good practice is to have some kind of contributor file that says that this repo is welcoming any updates. We should definitely add that so people feel welcome. So having some kind of contributor MD, that's usually a good sign if you want to contribute to any kind of repo, that you see some kind of markdown file that lines out that this repo is welcoming pull request on the documentation, on code, and things like that. So curious, Bruno, now you showed us how to do pull request via Visual Studio, but I believe that there's a little icon here, a pen. Maybe you can show our audience how that works.
Which one?
Or you know what, I can do that on my end. So if you see my screen here, you see the README is displaying.
Yes, sorry. I get your point. Editing there directly. Yes.
Yeah, so if I hit this pen here, it says edit file. And the beautiful part here is I can just add stuff to it. So I'm typing now adding Bruno to the title. I might not want that, but for the sake of this, experiment, I'm going to do that. So now I'm doing a change in this file, but the interesting part comes when I do commit changes. So when I do commit changes, I can just select to commit directly to main branch because I haven't disabled that yet. But the better practice here is to say create a new branch for this commit and start a pull request. So now I can hit propose changes, at which point it's now creating or displaying the change to me, which is adding the text that says now adding Bruno. And from here, I'm hitting the green button that says create pull request. And I can say, of course, Bruno should be mentioned, right? Because Bruno is an awesome contributor. He's already got his first PR contributed. So of course I want to credit him somewhat. So now I have the comment. Now it's trying to build. And as someone mentioned there in the comments, if you have a GitHub action that run tests, you would see that as part of this flow. But you don't see it right now because there's nothing set up. And I can either say files change. I can look in here and see what I'm trying to do. I can review the changes. And because I'm the one creating it and I'm the person who kind of decides over this repo because I'm the creator, I can just go to the conversation and either select squash and merge or rebase and merge or create a merge commit. So I'm going to do squash and merge again. So at this point, it says merge and I have the merged as status. And if I scroll down here, I can see in the README now how Bruno is mentioned in the repo. So what do you think of that, Bruno?
Hey, I like it. This is an example when you are doing markdown readmes or this kind of thing. This is a super easy way to do it. You are literally here. By the way, there is different topic, but you can even press dots here and open Visual Studio Code in the web where you are going to have access here. This is another way to do this. And this is something that I really like, that we have different options to do these kind of things. Because sometimes, in example, if you need to update a link in the README file, you don't want to clone the full repo to everything there. It's just editing there. That approach will work. Or even going like this, editing the file directly in the web.
Yeah, so building on top of that, Bruno, I actually hit a dot. So now it's loading github.dev for me. So now you can see how the repo is now rendered in a more VS Code-like approach. And I can just see what it's capable of. I see extensions like GitHub Codespaces and GitHub pull request already being installed. So that means I can do the change from here as well. And so if you don't want to clone things to your local machine, you can do everything in the web. So if you're on your mobile phone, you can do this. If you're on your tablet, you can do this. If you're on a desktop, you can do it as well. So it's a very neat and interesting way to kind of work with your repositories, either from your web browser or from your local machine. So did you show them how to work with Codespace? Do you think we should show that?
Yes, I think we probably need to switch to the next topic here. I see a couple of questions about pull, now need to build and release. There is a couple of questions. How do you do? What I understand from John's question is, how do you handle changes, features, and more? There are different approaches there. There are people who do features by branch, who fix, who basically resolve bugs also in branches, and then each one goes to a pull request. It's not part of what we are doing today, but happy to connect later and share a couple of what I think are nice educational resources to define kind of a branching strategy of how you can do this. But hey, we have some stuff here in the project. Do you want to go back to the slides and we can start to talk about a little how we can search here, how we can do more stuff?
Yeah, excellent point, Bruno. There's so many things about this topic, so we can talk about it all day. If we had 8 hours, we could probably fill it. So there's so many exciting things about branching and merging strategies or rebase. I know there are two camps out there with merge or rebase, but let's not open that can of worms.
Yes, that's space versus stuff, or pizza with pineapple or not pineapple, the same level of fun people and discussions and more.
For sure. So in our second part of this session, we'll talk about how you can search and organize your product a little bit more, because now you learn about pull request and you know how you can collaborate. So you don't need to be on the phone with, Chris doesn't need to talk to Bruno directly unless he wants to, which I want to. I will probably do it anyway. But for the sake that Bruno mentioned, what if you're on different time zones and those time zones don't make sense? You might need to have this async conversation. So one thing that you can do here to make sure that you can work with your repositories a little bit better is leveraging search at different levels. So you got the global search at the very top of your web page. You also have the context search, in which you will hone in a little bit upon your repo. And then you have a command here called git blame, which I'm not sure about the naming of this one, because this is more about figuring out who did what, when, and why. But we have a reason to come back to that one, and why, you shouldn't take it so much personally when you use a word like blame. Now, the second training module that will teach you a little bit more about this, we encourage you to look into this after this session. You can find it on Learn Live GitHub search. So please make a note of this link here at the bottom right. Search and organize repository history by using GitHub. That's the name of it. It will help you to find relevant issues and pull requests. It will enable you to search history to find various context. And you can also make connections within GitHub to help others find things. So lots of interesting stuff. Starting with our global search, though, global search is great because you can either scope it to your repo or all the repos. So let's say you have an example where you're trying to look for libraries for drawing diagrams, right? You could go into your global search in GitHub and just see what projects are there. You might find stuff like Chart.js or some other nice diagram library for showing your pie charts and stuff like that. So you start with that keyword at the very top of the GitHub webpage, and you're being shown various repos where this makes sense, and it will show it based on activity and popularity in terms of stars and other metrics. So this allows you to go into various other repos, but as I said, you can definitely scope that to your repository as well. If you know that the information is in your repository, you just forgot which in the millions of files you have in your repo, where that thing is actually mentioning a keyword like pizza or theme or whatever keyword that you're looking for. In this case, we are seeing the end result of searching for sidebar. So on our right side here, we see a global response because we see that this is coming from different users, Cognan Live, Code Drops, BlackRock Digital, and so on. These are all repos being called something sidebar. This is searching through, I believe, title and description and other things, and it's kind of sorting it by relevance. Now, that for global search, there's also context search. Context search is great because this usually focuses on your repo. So here you can see how we zoned in on the Issues tab. And the Issues tab is able to then, you can either do this for issues or pull request, and you can go in with a filter to either type the name of the issue, or if you know that it belongs to Bruno or to Chris, or it's an open or closed issue, or maybe it has a certain tag, it can help you to quickly find your way through all of these issues because, big repos can have hundreds or thousands of these. Try, for example, to go to one of our Microsoft repos for Blazor. I can guarantee you that there are thousands of issues or pull requests or suggestions. And just to find, for example, that someone is working on a similar enhancement like you, that could be a good signal that you could maybe join forces instead. So lastly, git blame. Git blame is, don't worry about the name of the command, it's just a name. But the idea is to find out who did what. And I actually have a fun anecdote here, or it's the same anecdote that's repeated itself over years. But the idea here is that you run git blame on a certain piece of file where you see a change that you don't recognize, and then suddenly it's going to tell you who did the change. Now, don't come at this of saying, hey, you developer, why did you do this change? The code isn't working, but more start it as a conversation and say, hey, I don't understand why this change was made. Do you have more context? That's an excellent way to have a very empathic communication, because at the end of the day, we're all on the same company. We're all on the same team. We want the same things. We want working code. And my anecdote is that 9 times out of 10, when I run a git blame, I'm the one who did the change. So it is fine as a developer to 3 months ago or 6 months ago or 12 months ago that you don't forget that you actually did that change, which could be for bad or worse. You never know what the change is introducing. But definitely use git blame as a way to just quickly identify and start a conversation with the right person. So do you have
Yes.
any
Hey,
anecdotes here to share,
question.
Bruno?
We have one question from Cynthia that I don't know if it came from the chat or not, but searchable content is implicitly by the main branch, right? Or other branches can be included when we
Right.
search.
So
This is nice for a
yes,
live test demo because that's kind of a nice one. And I haven't think about that, but any thoughts there?
I would say that my understanding is that usually when I search for these things, it's showing me multiple different PRs. So if I'm, for example, updating one of our training modules on Learn, and I search for certain things, I definitely see changes, and it's showing itself in the PR for a specific branch usually. So it's not always that it's showing me results from a main branch, but it's showing me from some other feature branch that I was working on. So I would say that these kind of searches goes through all your different pull requests, and it shows you a match depending on where it is.
Yes, and by the way, there is also, if you're doing general search, there is also a small button that can give you access to the advanced search, and advanced search is going to give you more options like filter by owners, specific repositories. With repository options, you want to search stuff with a repository that has over, I don't know, plus 1,000 stars, or so many forks, or this size in kilobytes of the repository. So there are a lot of options that you can use when you are searching. If you are searching globally, if you're going for the specific one of your repo, I think you are searching in the brand that you are there, but I also think that you have the chance to basically define, I want to search this, switch to another branch and see where you are.
Yeah, I think 100% that you're right there, Bruno, that there's always an advanced option that allows you to filter as you need. And we didn't mention the fact that you can be very smart about your search, not only keyword search, but regular expressions, if you know how to write those, that can do pattern matching, and you can do really complex search expressions if you wanted to. Yeah, I think we are at the moment, we want to see some demo from you, right? If we have time, let's
Yes.
maybe we can show a repo and how we can search through it.
Yes. So here I have, as I said before, this is the 5.3 cookbook. By the way, fun fact for the audience to see if they know or not. How many of you ever been to the home of GitHub? This is one, but you know that there is a HTML, I think it is. Have you ever seen this? Okay, I leave it here to the more specific one. But okay, here, yes, I have some. This is the home, so let me go to my repos, and because this is the fast way to go here, and I am going to go and show stuff in the 5.3 cookbook, the one that I mentioned here. And you can see here that Lee, our friends, literally neighbor from Chris, they live nearby. From London, he's nearby. Not there. He merged a couple of pull requests, but we have some issues here. So I can get here and start to see the issues here. So, hey, there are a couple of nice issues here. Let's take a look at this one in the MPU. Basically, MPU is a new set of processors that we have that we can use as a new set of chips. And there seems that Gotia here basically last week started to play around with the model in the MPU. And take a look at this. This is the context, Windows, the latest version, and try this with Python in versions 3.10, 3.11, 3.12, etc. So Lee say, hey, Kinfi, can you take a look? This is internal. And Kinfi say, hey, yes, this is what we have here. This is something that we can do. Please update your driver. I know. When you work in machine learning, this is something, and NVIDIA mostly, this is something that you deal all the time. You are probably going to have some issues with your CUDA drivers, with your, hey, it's a full story there. But also share that, hey, in this specific Intel NPU acceleration scenario, it works there, and the stuff, and Gotia, can you confirm this is working? And Gotia here, yes. So the NPU driver was on the last version. This is a small example of what we can do, but what is missing here, Chris?
Let's see what's missing.
I will make it easy. This one is still open, and as far as I understand, we need to close this issue because it seemed that someone reported an issue, the team helped to solve the issue. By the way, this is a super happy path. Sometimes there are issues that are not so easy to resolve, but this is nice, a happy path. But someone resolved the issue, so at this moment, I will probably go here and say close. I don't have the permission to do this. If I want to add the issue here to this repo, what I can do is, slot in, there it is. I can type my issue, and remember what we told before, that you can have some templates when you work in different repos. So in example, when I do a PR on an issue here, I need to fill the information in a very specific format. And this is also Chris mentioned, even when they are doing the merge for the commits and more here, that, hey, this is an issue for a couple of things here, for a big bug report, a feature request, documentation, regression, or more. Do I have the step to reproduce? Do I have any log message by the failure? There is a lot of stuff that we can do here to help the team, to help the repo. So I will advise everyone also, so if you are collaborating or if you want to do this, take a look, search for issues. So if I am here and having problems with my new amazing NPU, I'm going to search, find someone here with an NPU. There are some comments here. And hey, by the way, because I am a good colleague here, I am going to go and say, Kinfei, I like your solution. I like your response. So I'm going to give a thumbs up here for this. But give it a try. Go here, start to do some changes. Also, one of the filters that we have enabled here, if it is open, I want to see if there is something else that's not open. So we have 6 open, 6 open, 8 closed, and we have a lot of stuff here that we can also take a look here and see. So more content to see, more stuff. And as I said, you can search global, you can search in one, inside repos, searching issues, searching content here is kind of a nice one to do. I don't know, do you have one to share, Chris?
You mean if I have a nice repo to share, or?
Yes, a nice issue that you say, this is a nice one to tell how we work and collaborate and have here.
Oh, yeah. There's so many Microsoft repos, to be honest. Maybe you can go to Microsoft Docs if that thing is open. Or we are on Microsoft, right? We are github.com, Microsoft. Yeah, we have a lot of things in there. I believe .NET Core, right? If you remember
If we go to .NET.
And that's also a fantastic thing, right? I mean, .NET used to be like Windows only. So now you hear everyone who listens, this has been open source, runnable in Linux and Mac OS for many, many years, right? So .NET team has done a fantastic job of making this code not only open, but working on all different operating systems.
Yes, but let me show you something that an example that I used the search not some time ago. So I was trying to show an example where we, because I am old, we have a WinForm scenario, how we can modernize this. So I went to GitHub, I went here, I searched for WinForm chat because I want to have a chat application, and this is what I find. First of all, we can ask Copilot. This is an amazing way to interact here, but don't start there because we don't have time for this. But then I find this Agrin Tejada WinForm chat repository that this is small, but very super cute and very powerful demo how you can create a client with WinForm. I fork this and I take a look at this. Literally 1 second away of a search, I can find a super nice repository that I can use to tell more about the story. And by the way, I contact the repository owner, I fork it, I am so far. I have here 6 commits ahead of the original one. I need to contribute, but because we moved this to the other one, we decided not to do it. But hey, searching is a key piece of what you want to do, and not just searching on your repo. At a global level, you can find more, a lot more. And I know that we are on time. I think that we need to go back to Cynthia to talk about voucher, because I think people are interested in vouchers. I see in the comments.
For sure. So let me just wrap this up. So we have done 2 things today, right? We've shown you how to do pull request, how to collaborate nicely with your colleagues. You're not always going to be on the same time zone. You're not always going to go to work at the same time, or your colleague might just be busy. So please use comments. Please use pull request to make sure that you safely commit things into the main branch. and you have working software. But as some of you mentioned, there are ways to go beyond this and improve further with GitHub Actions that allows you to, for example, validate the code or run unit tests and much, much more. So we have just scratched the surface today. But hopefully you also feel empowered by Bruno showing you all how you could be searching things through your repo as your repo grows big, which it will in most companies. Search for issues by author, what type it is, whether it's open or closed, and you will be quickly able to hone in on that issue and see, is someone building it, what did they experience, and so on. And just a very short ending comment there, Bruno, as you were trying to close an issue. It's always nice when you have collaborators to say, why am I closing this issue? Maybe there's a duplicate issue open somewhere else. So always remember to be very polite, add context. People do not have your context, and be nice to each other out there. With that said, back to Cynthia, because I'm sure you all want to hear about vouchers and other things.
Hello, hello. So thank you, Bruno and Chris, for giving us this amazing session. So before we go about the vouchers, so I really want to say thank you to you both and to the all speakers we have during the series, because we know we have many people in our community looking for an opportunity to learn, not only, to go to the on-demand trainings, but also have the opportunity to hear from a very senior speakers like you both today and the other speakers we have in the series in Spanish and English. And I think this is an amazing opportunity because everyone can learn based in your experience, and you have, the possibility to ask questions in the chat, etc. And this created for us, a very strong community, and also an interesting way to learn, from others' experience. And now moving about the vouchers, so I want to recap about the study guide we have. We have one of the Microsoft Learning Student Ambassadors who created a very great article for us with step-by-step about the contents, with additional research to learn on Microsoft Docs or at GitHub Docs as well. And also the step-by-step to schedule the GitHub Foundations certification. So if you are not familiar with our study guide, please go to aka.ms/infoguide GitHub, or you can also scan here the QR code to go to Microsoft Tech Community blog. So there you will see everything you need to be successful with the GitHub Foundations certification. And I think one important point, so I will ask here to my friends on the backstage just to remove the blue bunny here, but we have some guidance about the vouchers. So first, these vouchers will be offered as a first come, first serve. In other words, only people here in the session will be able to, to schedule the certification. And one very important thing, please do not share the code in your social media or in your chat or any other platform, because this code is connected with the GitHub series here at Microsoft Reactor. And GitHub are able to try, track and detect if you share with people outside, the series. So please keep in mind these opportunities for you and for everyone here in the session. And this process to schedule our certification will guide you directly to the GitHub certification website, where you can, pick the GitHub Foundations certification and move step by step to add your GitHub account, your email, and everything. And then at the final of this process, you are going to select your preferred date to do the certification, and then you will be able to apply the code we are going to share just in 1 minute. So everyone here is ready and excited. And also, I think I saw many questions about the type of the certification. So this voucher is special to the GitHub Foundation certification. You can also try, apply to the GitHub Actions, but we can't say 100% you'll be able to get the GitHub Actions, because the exam as a priority in this series is the GitHub Foundations certification. Okay, So now let me see here in the chat. Everyone is on fire and asking about the vouchers. I know everyone wants to schedule, the certification. So here we are. We have one special voucher to each session. In these words, the previous one is not available because as we have only 500 vouchers available today, this means that only the first 500 respondents will be able to schedule the certification because we are guiding this series based on the first come, first served base. So please take a note about the voucher. Open our guide here on the aka.ms/info guide GitHub to start, the step-by-step to schedule your certification. And at the end of the process, please include this code in your process to purchase the certification, and you will have a 100% of discount. Of course, you're going to have the free certification. So I think this is a very amazing because we all know if you are going to be a developer or a data scientist or I don't know, maybe a security person, you need to learn about GitHub. And the GitHub Foundation's certification is a great first step for you to start, your journey of certifications with the GitHub platform. So let's wait just a few more minutes here to see if everyone is able to get the certification. Also, if anyone have some questions, please share with us at Microsoft Reactor. We are going to be very happy to help everyone to understand, if you have anything else, or also if you already did your certification, please let us know, share on social media, or send us a note on the Microsoft Reactor inbox, and we are going to be very happy to know about your new moment at the career having the GitHub Foundation's certification. And as this certification, this code is specific for one certification. If you are really scheduling certification before using, I don't know, maybe vouchers from the previous sessions, you don't need to schedule again the exam. Okay. So let's see here. Everyone is trying to get. I saw some thank you message here on the chat. So great to know. So, okay, I think we are good and we are on time. So please keep in mind this is a first come, first served base. And now exactly we have more than 700 people here in the session with us. And we have only 500 vouchers available in this code. So thank you so much again for joining the Get Certified with GitHub. And I hope to see you all back here at Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel to new Learn Live programs. So thank you so much and good luck on the GitHub Foundation's certification.